All right, everyone, it's time to talk about gerrymandering, of course. I happen to oppose this particular facet of politics. It's been a thing for quite some time. And by the way, gerrymandering and gerrymandering are both colloquially correct. There's no broad consensus on it, it seems, in word processors. Texas Democrats have finally calmed down from their temper tantrum. They fled to Chicago, of literally all places, the irony of which is not even remotely lost on me as someone who understands politics. And it was hysterical. They wanted to prevent quorum from being established. Now, quorum means you have to have a certain number of people present in order to actually hold a vote at all. So if you want to do congressional redistricting, you're going to have enough people in the chamber to actually establish that you have enough votes so that it's a proper vote. It's legal, basically. And so the Texas Democrats, by and large, decided to take a vacation in Chicago. But then it was pointed out, not just by myself, but numerous other political commentators, the hilarity of the situation. Because if you look at a congressional map of the greater Chicago area, what do you see? The ultimate gerrymander. I mean, it puts what California under Newsom is suggesting to shame. It's probably the most gerrymandered area in the entire fucking country. I'm wondering if the congressional Democrats there didn't decide to go with along with Pritzker and seek asylum with him basically interiorly, simply out of the irony of the situation. I'm wondering if they didn't do it on purpose. Because Texas redistricting ultimately is fairly mild compared to what you see in the proposals in California. And both of them combined would be mild compared to Chicago. Like if Texas is a jalapeno of gerrymandering and California is the Anaheim pepper, Chicago is the Reaper extract, so to speak. So the irony was definitely not lost. But they've ended their temper tantrum. They are returning to Texas. They're finally going to do the job that they were paid to do. And admittedly, some of these people will probably lose their jobs because of the redistricting process. Some of them will probably lose their positions. It's sort of like when you're talking about numerics, you can group things together in such a way that you get a favorable outcome. Texas and now California are both trying to do this. By the way, in California, I would point out Gavin Newsom is now being opposed by the ultimate TDS suffering rhino, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He is a Republican, but he ain't exactly a conservative. So Arnold is going to oppose him. You remember during the lockdowns when he was smoking a cigar in his jacuzzi and saying, "Oh, just stay home." I thought that was a little bit bizarre. Yeah, we realize you got shit tons of money and you make millions of dollars a year just on returns from merchandise and stuff like that from Terminator and other movies that you've done. You can afford to stay home and get everything delivered. Not everyone can do that. But I will give him credit where credit's due. He did actually pass through when he was the governor. He did actually create a system by which redistricting would be, hampered in the partisan sense. He did make it more fair, to his credit. Apparently, Newsom intends to do away with this very basic concept. They're no longer going to have fair redistricting, and so California will become basically just a wall of blue. Thankfully for us, other than for congressional purposes, at the national level, this means absolutely nothing. It doesn't change the number of electoral votes, for example, that California gets. So at the executive level, we're fine. At the congressional level, though, you're going to end up with 5 or 6 new members of Congress in Texas that are Republicans that easily ousted, Democrats. And the same thing will hold true in California. So it's sort of an even Stevens. You get one state that's going to become considerably more red and another state that's going to become considerably more blue. Texas quite clearly at this point, despite all of the people who criticized me for years saying Californians are going to move there. Texas is going to become a blue state. Well, it's becoming more red all of a sudden. I wonder why. Maybe because the last administration was an abysmal failure and Texans aren't retarded. The world may never know. Maybe I was right after all. It could come a day when they go back to being Southern Democrats, but it is not this day. California could go red too, potentially, but I wouldn't fucking hold your breath considering the people that are exiled from California and going elsewhere are mostly conservative individuals. That's why they're leaving. So actually, California is likely to become more blue. I wouldn't be surprised if a handful of other states follow suit. We're seeing this in the Pacific Northwest. The people that are leaving these high tax, high regulatory states tend to be people who disagree with the high tax, high regulatory system. Imagine that. It's like somebody who moves out of, Bumpkinville in the middle of goddamn nowhere, living in a cornfield for their upbringing, probably doesn't take a lot of terribly conservative values with them. So don't worry, city slickers. That dude with the overalls over there, he actually listens to hipster music and shit like that, and he left because he was gay and everyone made fun of him or something like that. This happens all the time. It's nothing to worry about. So yeah, the Democrats there have calmed down their temper tantrum. They got patted on the head, and it's like, okay, we've heard your grievances. We know that you're pissed off. Come on back, establish the quorum, deal with the fact that you have to do your job because you can't stay in Chicago forever. At some point, you're going to get kicked out of our Congress, and that would be a real big problem for you. At the very least, you've got a fighting chance if you decide to do your job. They'll all vote nay in the end to the redistricting. And so, since their constituents, at least in a few cases, tend towards the blue, they will be able to survive. Personally, I have no problem with this. I do not like the concept of gerrymandering, but anytime you control the left, that's number one, that's funny. And number two, the hypocrisy has been writ large. Again, looking at where they went when they left Texas, specifically Illinois, is absolutely stunning. I would think that they would take refuge in a state that wasn't heavily gerrymandered, like, New York or something like that. Hell, even California. They could have gone there, where Gavin Newsom is proposing the same basic idea. I notice again that the media has a problem with Texas and not a problem with California. They decide to go to the most gerrymandered place in the entire country. I don't think that there's an area, a metropolitan area, that has been more chopped and screwed Viper style than Chicago. I can't think of one. I've studied the congressional districts state by state. I didn't see anything that looked as atrocious and hideous as what you have in Chicago. So that was humorous to me. Let's put it that way. That's about all. Peace out.